So I wanted to make this video to talk about how I've been living with rheumatoid arthritis for so long without me even knowing it. And then now me as an adult, how I live like my daily life with it. Because it's something I'm going to have forever. And it does control my life.
Okay.
In a lot of ways. And I wish it didn't, but I have to get used to it. There's no other option.
So do you mind if I ask some questions like
of course.
Leading up into that?
Yeah. So
first and foremost, when did you find out?
I didn't find out till I was diagnosed 2021.
Okay.
Or just the
recently.
year of the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah. But so my earliest memory of having this pain is I remember being 4 years old and I would cry of pain in the night, like sobbing hysterically.
Where's the pain?
It's okay. So the pain, it's really hard to describe, but it's like, have you ever had a growing pain?
Mm-hmm.
Like your bones are growing.
Your joints, yeah.
Like that, but in every bone of your body, even my jaw, like my ear, my everywhere. So obviously it's very tiring.
Yeah.
Like it's like I got my ass beat.
That's been your whole life.
My whole life.
Fuck.
But when I was younger, it would come and go. So I would be 4 years old sobbing hysterically like my bones. And like I at least had the awareness that it was my bones.
Right.
And I would tell my mom and she would be like, "Ay, tienes reumas." I don't even know why she would say that. But she was like, "Tienes reumas." And I was like, "Do I? Like what is that?" But she would always tell me that. And then when it would rain or be really cloudy, the pain would be unbearable.
Ooh.
Like really, really bad. And I wasn't able to do anything for it. I would just have to go through it.
Yeah.
And it would go away. And then growing up, like I remember being in school and like on my wrists, I would get this horrible, sharp, like electrocution style type pain on my wrist.
From writing?
From writing or from just being there. And I would go like, ah.
Yeah.
And like I would be like the crazy person screaming.
Right.
And then like it would go away. And I never knew what it was and I never gave it a second thought. I was like, oh, it's my pain attack. You know, like I never thought of it.
Yeah, you're like, this is my life.
This is
what
my life. Yeah.
You just accepted it.
Yeah, it's like it's time for my daily screams.
Mm-hmm.
But I never knew.
Daily screams.
But also I had like the worst diet imaginable. Like it was even like a joke. When I used to be in middle school, I would take a bag of hot puffs every single day. And that was my, like,
that was your lunch.
That was my
all you
food. It was my nutrients.
Yeah.
Like, and my mom never gave a fuck, like, to feed me anything healthy. And that's what I would eat. My sister had a horrible diet as well. I don't know how we didn't fucking die of malnutrition for sure. Right. But, yeah, I did have a terrible, terrible diet. But I never ate beef, which comes into play in the future. Okay. I never liked it. Like I would try burgers and I was like, ew, this is gross. Huh. Then yeah, I actually didn't try beef till I was 18 years old.
Okay.
It was the first time I ever like ate a burger that I liked. It was at In-N-Out. They recorded me eating it because shout out In-N-Out. It was so good. And then I moved to LA and I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna eat it all the time. So I started introducing beef into my diet.
Okay.
And I did not know this is going to be like my downfall. It's delicious, but I mean, it's not good for me. So something that I've come into like something that I've realized with people with rheumatoid arthritis, because I know a couple. And I'm also like in a lot of rheumatoid arthritis like support groups online and subreddits, and I talk to a lot of people about it. When I barely got diagnosed and I was going through my treatment, I actually got invited by this doctor abroad, somewhere in Europe, who was doing a study. He was like, "Can I interview you? Because we're like interviewing 100 people with RA, and we'll pay you and we give you a gift card and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And it was like an hour-long session, and I was crying because he was asking me all these questions. And then at the very end, he tells me, I just want to let you know that like 90% and above of people that have RA have had abuse in their life. Either childhood abuse or like crazy things happen to them.
What?
And I was like, yeah, because I opened up to him and I told him, I had a very rough childhood, and I was abused as a child, and then I had a horrible like early adult life. Like I was severely abused by my ex-partner. So it's like something that ties in because it's an autoimmune disease.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna ask.
Yes.
It's a nervous system issue.
It's an autoimmune disease. For me, it's my own immune system recognizing my joints, my bones, my tissue, my cartilage, everything as a foreign virus or a foreign like entity. It attacks it.
It's attacking. Yeah,
it's attacking it, like trying to kill itself. And it. Okay, so I'll get to past that. So when I was 19, I had my daughter, and I was like a year or two after that, when I was like 20, 21, I started getting. It started on my right foot, like by the pinky toe. It was this incredible pain, like the sharp attack pains that I would get growing up, but like way more severe. And it wouldn't go away. And then it kind of like crawled up. It crawled up to the point where both of my feet were just always in pain. And then I remember trying to, like, eventually months went by, and I would try to open the trunk of my car. And I couldn't. Like, my hands were like atrophied, or like I was like, what the fuck is going on?
It was painful to do anything.
Extremely painful. Fuck. Like I couldn't even do this motion, but I was still fine, relatively fine.
Are these pains feelings that would just happen randomly, or was there always patterns that led up to this? Or
yes, it started progressing at around this time. Like I said, it started with my feet and my hands, and it was like a constant pain. And whenever I would try to use them, obviously you use your feet and hands all day. Which, I mean,
that affects you because how do you run your day? Like
exactly,
you can't do anything.
It was so frustrating, and it started fucking with me mentally. And this is when I started really noticing a pattern of... Hold on, I got distracted. Can I check if my phone is still recording?
Yeah.
I don't know why, like, I'm scared of it not recording.
You got a sixth sense.
Yeah. Okay, no, it's still going. Okay, so this is when I started noticing that I started getting... as like obviously my arthritis pain and it starts affecting your mental health, living in pain. But I started also getting like symptoms of OCD and like severe stress and anxiety.
Was this because you felt like if I don't do this, then I'll start feeling pain? Or
yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, yeah, exactly. That's like kind of like mindset I had. And like so apparently I've been going to therapy for 2 years, and my therapist tells me that my tics, like my OCD tics, are based on wanting protection. So I was like,
security.
Yeah, like safety, and like I'm always scared like everything's gonna go wrong, because it's like how the patterns in my brain recognizes the patterns of like everything's about to go to shit, so let's do this to avoid it. And it's insanity. And I started like, I didn't know that's what OCD was, and like it's all tied in, like mental health, physical health. I started getting bad. So I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, dude, I'm fucking crazy. Like, should I tell people that I'm doing these insane things, like constantly? Like,
what are some of those like kind of patterns?
It's very like
if
stupid.
You don't mind.
No, yeah. I don't mind now, but before I would literally start crying. And now I'm like, it's cool. Like now I put a name to it, so it's not that powerful, I guess. But like, touching things in certain ways, doing like certain like mantras or prayers repeatedly, and then doing it right. If I don't do it right, I have to do it 3 more times. And if I don't do it right 3 times, I have to do it 3 times, so 9 times. Then 9 times 3 times, so 27. Like insanity, right?
So just never ending.
Never ending loops. And
what's a scenario, like a everyday
driving.
Scenario? Okay.
Every time I get in a car, I have to. There's no option. Like, so it's like obsession. I think
but
about
like,
it
what's the tick, or what's...
Oh, for that specific thing, it would be like a prayer or like a safety mantra that I have memorized, and I like do. It's crazy. Like I do like a shortcut of it, so it's not too long. because it used to consume like entire hours of my day.
You have somewhere to be and you have to do these
It's like insanity. But this is when I started developing a lot because I started feeling out of control of my body, of my pain, and I was being abused severely. So like I was like living this life where my brain could not handle reality, so it was like constantly trying to like hack it with little things. So then from that I started getting really bad. Like I started getting so bad that I wouldn't be able to get up in the mornings. And I kept working because I like I said, I have a small business, I'm a writer, and I kept working the whole time. And I have pictures on my phone, like my daughter would like take pictures of me where I'm like in the couch, just like in a robe, laying down. And this is before I was diagnosed. I did not know what was wrong with me. I don't know. I did not know why I couldn't even get up.
Right.
I did not have the energy. Like, this is how I knew I was going through a lot of pain, is when there's a disconnect between my thoughts and my body. Meaning, like, I want to get up and use the restroom, but I'm just sitting there thinking about using the restroom because it hurts so much to even move. So, yeah, it was like that for months, and it was getting worse and worse and worse, like exponentially.
Damn.
And I couldn't, like, my daughter was still small, and I couldn't carry her anymore. I've always been super active.
Yeah, and all of that's just a feedback loop, right? Because then it makes you more depressed because you can't be as connected with your daughter.
Exactly.
And,
I felt like I started feeling like an alien in my body, which I had felt before with depression.
Wow.
But now I felt it like as a physical ailment. But, it's like a manifestation of that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Do you know why the trauma is very common with this disease, with RA?
Because for people like me, speaking from my personal experience, I dealt with so much trauma and stress, and I internalized it. So it's like my body just has so much resentment and anger and fear and like fight or flight for years. Like, have you ever felt fight or flight? Like, like if you're in a car crash, like, shit, like I need to get out of the situation, or I need to brace myself. Like that for an extended period of time, daily.
That's
with my mom and then with my ex. Like, your brain just releases chemicals it shouldn't, and you grow up, like your brain grows in like a pattern or like a map. Okay. My brain's pattern or map that it grew into is all fucked up. Because of that. And like I've been learning to undo it or like deal with it. But yeah, all those years of fear and resentment and hatred, and like you have to have a very low self-esteem to be abused. And I had like a negative trillion self-esteem. Like, because a person with a healthy self-esteem doesn't let themselves get abused. Right. Like, you're not gonna let me talk to you crazy. Like, hey, like, I respect myself, don't talk to me like that. Yeah. Do you
feel like you're out of that now?
Like I do. Yeah. Okay. I feel like if I was at like a negative trillion before, I worked my way up to 0. Okay. And then like 5, 10, 15, like that. And I feel like I'm like at a 50.
When do you feel like you finally balanced out?
Maybe this last year.
Okay. That's
good. Through a lot of hard work. Thank you. But it was like a I always never know how to say this word, like cumulative effort. Yeah.
Commutative.
That.
You're the writer, not me.
Yeah, exactly. My bad. I should know how to say it. But like se acumuló. Whatever. So my self-esteem was non-existent. The pain was like controlling my life. I no longer felt joy, because when you're in pain, like, you can't feel joy. And then I would be in agonizing pain in the nights as well, so I couldn't fall asleep. So you don't sleep, you lose it. And like, it's just a never-ending spiral. People would be like, you need to sleep, like, just go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, you could fall asleep in agony? Like, you can't. Yeah. So it started getting worse.
Why did it take so long to get diagnosed for this?
Because I didn't have healthcare, and I would try to go to like different. I tried to apply for like disability, didn't get approved. I applied for Medicaid and stuff. I didn't qualify.
Because you weren't officially diagnosed, or
because of my income, and because like my ex was still living with me.
I see.
And like I would try to do it every way. Literally, like I'm a person who has OCD. I obsess over things. I obsessively try to do it. Didn't work out anyway. And the best way I could do it was that I went to like free clinics or like state clinics where I was only paying like $25 per visit.
Yeah.
But then when they referred me to a specialist, a rheumatologist, a doctor that deals with this, that's where the price tag goes to the 500.
Oh yeah, it's private,
out of pocket. So I'm like, I can't see these doctors. So eventually, I was really bad, right? It was horrible. So then, there was this the doctor that I told you that interviewed me about the study, told me this other thing, that most people with RA have like a big event in their life where everything like goes downhill, and it like causes a major disruption in their life, and that's where they start getting really bad. For me, that was when I had already cut off my mom from my life because she was very abusive, and I was still living in a very abusive situation with my ex, but I was still like handling it or like keeping it under wraps. I didn't tell anyone about it.
Yeah,
I was in denial, I guess. But what happened was that I have a sister, and I love her with like all my heart and soul. Long story short, she did this horrible thing where she betrayed me. She lied to me and she betrayed me, and all my family was like okay with it. They were like, this is something that always happens to people that like get done wrong or abused. They tell the victim. I don't see myself as a victim. I don't victimize myself. That's but good. Like the victim in the situation, they tell the victim like, forgive them, rise above it. They're sick. That's the way they are. But they never tell the fucking perpetrator, why are you so shitty? Why don't you stop? Why don't you be a better sister? Why don't you be a better mother? Why don't you be a better partner? It's always on the victim to excuse the behavior. And that's something I've seen throughout my whole life. And I get it, because at the end of the day, like when someone is shitty, it's their business. And it's your responsibility to rise above it. I do get that. But I think that whole narrative is really wrong. Yeah. And in my case, my sister like really fucked me over. And I had a mental breakdown. Like I was screaming. Like,
so that was kind of the last straw, right?
Like my body and my brain, my heart, my soul, my energy as who I am got broken.
Collapsed.
Like I could not handle it. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I remember crying and screaming for like hours at the top of my lungs. And like people were like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and I know that it was really bad because I had never gotten like that. I've never gotten that upset. And getting upset flares me up. So that's why I have to control my emotions. Right. And growing up, I never knew how to control or regulate my emotions, and I had to learn. And it was embarrassing at the beginning, but like, yeah, I just had a full-on explosion. And from there on, also, I remember it was like at the same time, it was the same month, August of 2021. It was my 23rd birthday. I was turning 23. And for my birthday, they cooked me beef ribs. And I didn't know that beef is like poison to me. Like it kills me. It puts me in a coma. Like I can't move. Damn. And I'm in tremendous amount of pain. Like to the touch, like the bed.
Do you know why? Like what?
I think it has something to do with my blood type.
Nothing with the arthritis.
No, yeah. Yeah. Like it flares up my arthritis.
I see.
It's like poison to me because like I think the type of meat, like the type of blood that cows have is not good with my blood type. Something, I don't know, something like that. I try to do research on it, but it's more like, I think there's not too much information on it, but for sure for me, I can't even look at me. Yeah. Like it's not even worth it. Like, cause before I would be like, maybe like a little bite. Yeah. It's not worth it. Yeah. It's really not. Like I can't even open my jaw.
So do you just go the vegan route, or
I eat chicken and pork?
And
I like fantasize about beef all the time. Like I literally drool. Yeah, so like I want like a brisket burrito from Vista Market.
Okay, maybe you are missing out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, obviously, like there's so many dishes that I would love to eat, but it's not worth it. So yeah, I remember like I had eaten beef ribs, and then my sister did that, and it was just like the worst pain of my life. And I remember literally being in a fucking coma.
Damn.
Like, I could not move. I could not open my jaw. I could not move my neck. I could not go to the restroom.
Well, that's kind of what like rickets is, isn't it? Or
Not
gout,
familiar.
like gout.
Yeah, and gout
it's from eating too much beef.
And gout is autoimmune and from stress as well. Yeah. So yeah. All of that is connected. It's crazy. But so let's fast forward to when I couldn't take it anymore, and I reached out to my family, and I told them, like, my support system is my grandpa and my aunt, nannies. They both saved my life, and I let them know what was going on because I was very isolated. Because when you're in like an abusive situation, step one is isolation, so that the abuse can continue, right?
Right.
But I was like, I'm gonna stop this, and I told them because I thought I was gonna die. I was like, I am dying. I'm on my deathbed. Like, I did not look like a person anymore. Like, I was nowhere near how I look now. Like, I was like crumpled over, and it was bad. So I let my aunt know and my grandpa know, and they took me to Juarez. And that same day, they got me an appointment with a rheumatologist. And I didn't know it till now, but when my rheumatologist first saw me, she told my aunt in secret, like, she should be in a wheelchair.
Oh.
I couldn't even walk. I was like limping, and like every step was agony, right? So, and I was like, I have pictures and videos of me. Like, I took pictures and videos like of me sobbing in pain and like not being able to get up. And like I said, I wasn't even living a life anymore.
This is your whole life that you're just swallowing the pain. Just fuck it.
Like life. I would always say, a life in pain like this is not worth living.
No, fuck no.
It's not worth it. And I wasn't like suicidal or anything, but I was just like, okay, like I'm done.
Yeah.
And it would suck because I was being abused, and I was a primary caretaker of my daughter.
Yeah.
I would have to take care and work because I wouldn't get approved for disability or anything like that. In order to get approved for disability, a lot of people don't know you have to stop working for 6 months, and there's no way I could afford to stop working for 6 months. Yeah. It's like a loophole, right?
Yeah.
So then I got diagnosed, and I wish I could like show you my blood work. I have it on my phone. I had radioactive levels of rheumatoid arthritis in my blood. So there was 2 factors, the like anti-peptide C or something like that. Their normal range is 1 to 5. Mine was at 1,067.
What the okay.
Then the rheumatoid factor, sorry, let me just say the other one. The rheumatoid factor in my blood, the normal one is 1 to 30. Mine was 999. So both of them were radioactive levels.
Yeah, how is that possible?
By far, my rheumatologist said that it was the highest she's ever seen.
Yeah.
And when I was seen in LA, again, a rheumatologist that has been working for years, she's like, this is the highest I've ever seen.
Did they have any explanation why or?
Well, it was definitely because I was living in a constant battle.
It was your environment.
It was my environment.
Damn, so you
plus
were just
my diet.
That high. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like I was eating like Red 40 for breakfast, and then like beef, a lot of beef, and like because
so you still, even though it gave you pain, you were still...
I didn't know.
Okay,
I didn't know. Okay, this is when I got diagnosed. They tested me for lupus and other things because they didn't know what was wrong with me.
Right.
But they're like, yeah, for sure this has something to do with rheumatoid arthritis. I had actually gotten like kind of diagnosed in El Paso, but I never saw a specialist. So I never saw my levels that I just mentioned. So yeah, they were like, dude, we need to get you on like the biggest list of medication ever. Okay. So that's when they put me on methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy drug.
Whoa.
And then they put me on this was when the pandemic was going on. So I don't know if you remember, but Trump was saying that this drug called hydroxychloroquine was like helping people. So they regulated it, and that's my main drug that I take. Wow. So it became like a big deal to get it and cross it. Yeah. But I was able to do it, and I got on that. I got on something called leflutamina, which is another. So a method, hydroxychloroquine and the other one that I just mentioned are immunosuppressors. Okay. So my immune system is astronomically high, attacking itself. We're trying to lower it so it's not.
You're just trying to slow it down.
Yeah, so it's not that high. So it's like a normal person's immune system. That's why I never got sick in my whole life. Like ever.
What do you mean?
Like growing up, my immune system was so amazing.
Oh, so
I
it's so
kn-
like highly aware and like
yeah, like
activated.
anything, to the point that it started attacking itself.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, super wild, because I never knew. And like even as a kid and stuff.
Yeah.
And so now I started taking all the drugs, including the methotrexate, which was subcutaneous weekly, which means an injection every week.
Damn.
And it's maybe like, I read online that it's probably like a fifth of what chemo is.
Okay.
About, like, and if that is a fifth of what chemo is like, I've cried. I've broken down crying thinking of like the kids that have to go through chemo.
Yeah.
Because me going through methotrexate once a week, it was like poison.
Are you still doing this?
I'm not doing the methotrexate anymore.
Okay.
Thank God. I was taken off of it last year.
Okay, and that's
A year
because
and a half ago?
it's
'Cause it
balanced
worked.
out. It's
Yes.
okay.
So
Good. Congrats.
yeah. Thank you so much. Like, that drug was life-saving.
Wow.
All these drugs are life-saving. And I grew up thinking like, I don't even take painkillers because that's like not natural. It's like when you're right, but while I'm eating hot Cheetos for fucking breakfast,
Yeah.
right? Like an idiot. But yeah, no. Those that medication, again, that word acumulativo. Like, it took months for it to get in my system and for it to be able to work. And then like eventually I started like becoming human again.
Good.
I started becoming myself again. I did not think of myself as Ethel anymore, because when I was so bad, like when I was really bad, I stopped living life. I just would watch life pass me by. That's what I would always say. Like, I'm just watching life pass me by. I would be a spectator of life. I was no longer in life. I was just watching it from a distance and like saying
Just
goodbye
cruising.
to it. Like saying goodbye. I was getting ready to say goodbye to my life. And then it was still really bad for a lot of months with the chemo. Actually, this is when I was started with all the medication. My ex was like losing his mind because he had to. That's when I was like, yeah, go ahead. Keep talking. Oh, okay, yeah. So he had to do the primary caretaking of our daughter now, and he had to take care of me. He had to like cook, clean, and do everything that I would normally do by himself. And he lost his mind in like a month or two. And within a month, is it still recording? Within like a month, he was like, I can't do this, and we left back to LA with his family. And like we moved in with them, and they were helping. My in-laws were helping take care of my daughter. While my ex would take care of me. But it was horrible because I would go through chemo and he would still abuse me, slap me, beat the shit out of me. It was horrible.
Dude, what a shitty person.
Yeah, like literally scum from hell. Like, they don't even make people like these.
Now, is this why you're close with the family, because they know how he is, or?
Yeah. Like, they in their family, the abuse is so normalized.
Damn.
They see it like it's nothing.
It's just that, again, a never-ending loop.
Yeah. But they're like very supportive and very helpful, very sweet. And
That's
I do, like I said, my ex mother-in-law is a part of my support system, and I appreciate her a lot. And yeah, shout out Marcela. And yeah, she literally gave me her bed in her bedroom when I was out there going through chemo. Like, I appreciate all these things that people have done for me. Like, if it wasn't for my aunt taking the time to take me to the hospital, if it wasn't for my grandpa like offering to help me pay for these things, like, again, acumulativo. It's like a word. Like, it made me feel like so appreciated, but I didn't even have the wherewithal to feel the appreciation yet. I was still like in pain. Pain was still controlling my life. So yeah.
Okay, so right now we're at the point where you're getting off the more intense drugs.
Yes.
This is a year, 2 years?
Yeah, like about a year.
Okay.
I started getting better. And I start realizing how bad my life is. But also how good it is, right? Like, I start the pain. There's chunks of my life where I don't feel pain now. Like, it's the medication is starting to work to the point that with all the medication plus pain meds, I'm like okay during times of the day.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay,
You're finding balance.
Yeah. And
Good.
then like, this is where like, those annoying people that are like, oh, I had a near death experience and now like I'm full of life. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Like, I've always had like a joy of life,
Mm-hmm.
and always like since I was born. But it came back with like a vengeance. Like, have you ever heard of like sunk cost fallacy, which is it's when you lose time.
Cost fallacy.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
fallacy with like an error in thinking, which is when you lose so much time you think it's not worth it anymore.
Oh.
Right. I no longer thought like that. I've always thought like that all my life. Like I was 19 and I was like, oh, my life is over. Why even try to do this? Why even
God,
try
at
to
19.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
19, it was over. And now at like 23, 24, I was like, oh my God, like I feel like my life is starting. And that's when I started realizing like, well, I still had a lot of OCD, but I said I was going through so much pain, and then there was a death in our like close friend group. Well, for my ex's close friend group that impacted all of us. In LA, he was shot, and that was like a catalyst for a lot of things. And that's how I actually ended up breaking up with my ex. I told him, if you go to the funeral with my car and leave us, because he would leave to LA often. Okay. And this time he would leave us for weeks with me not being able to move properly with my daughter. Wow. Like it was like hell, right? So, and he wasn't even, and I still had to pay everything. Mm-hmm. Like it was crazy. Of course, yeah. So, I told him, if you leave us, it was like an ultimatum. Like, if you leave us this time, now that I'm starting to feel a little bit better, I'm breaking up with you. Right. And this was in 2021. This is like, I'm gonna have to confirm the dates, but this was like in around this time, 2021. I told him like, I can't do it anymore. And he ended up doing it, even though he promised he wouldn't. He did it. He ended up getting the car taken away by like the sheriff's department in Arizona on his way back. So he had to come pick me up and drive to Arizona and come back. But it was like this issue where if the car because it was like impounded, so if the car was taken out of impound and found in Arizona streets for the next 30 days, something like that, it would get taken back into the impound for 30 days. So it would be like thousands of dollars to get out.
So they would take it out
because it was expired tag or something. Okay. Right? They were really strict. But so I was in a lot of pain. I was still going through chemo. The pain was still very high, especially compared to now. Like now I could actually like I'm still in pain right now, but I could like close my hand and stuff like that. I was so stressed. My mom had just died at this point. My mom died January 2021. This was April 2021. My mom had just died, and I would thank you, and I would try to talk to my ex about it, and he would make fun of me. He would be like, "Haha, your mom's in hell." Like it was crazy. It was crazy. And on my way driving back, trying to avoid my car being impounded again, with so much stress that my shoulders were like this high, locked. And I couldn't move. Like my joints lock up. Like when I get a lot of stress, like I was locked up driving. This is when, and I had broken up with him. I was like, "This is the last of it." That's when I said, I need mental help today, or I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. So immediately, like that day, I reached out to my friend, and we found this place that I always refer people to. It's called Family Services of El Paso. And they literally helped me change my life. Oh. Like, I told them my situation. I was like, dude, not dude, but I have, like, please. Not dude, bro. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm a single mom. I work by myself. Like, this is how much I can pay. And they have a form for that. And I pay $3 per session. Huh. Yeah. And like at first I was doing 2 times a week. Now, is this like a therapy type of? Okay. Yeah. She's a licensed therapist and everything. And I had another doctor before, and then I changed about a year ago. And I love my therapist now. I love her. Like, shout out. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name or not, but yeah, shout out. She's like, especially because my first therapist was white, I think, and like I would have to like explain certain aspects of my life. And with my new therapist, like I don't have to explain anything, and she's Latina herself, and she's young. She's like probably in her 30s, and like we click very well. But yeah, that's how I was able to find out. I'm gonna ask you off camera because I think I
there's a chance I might know this person.
Really?
There's a chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you do, I would love that because I'm a huge fan of hers. And I always make her laugh during sessions. Like I'm like crying and then I make her laugh. It's funny. But yeah.
Okay. So now you've reached the point where you're seeing the light. You can breathe. You can live a little bit. Or is it
No. This is where I'm in complete desperation.
Okay. This is my just breaking starting point. Therapy.
You're just starting therapy. I was like, I'm not gonna make it if I don't start this. Within like I think it was May of that year. I was able to open up about my weird things that I would do that I didn't know was OCD. Okay. And then I was like, they were like, oh, by the way, it's called OCD. And then they gave me like this whole rundown. They do assessments on me, and they like the assessment got me at severe. So I had severe OCD. And then like literally just learning about it and giving it a name helped me understand. And then like we started doing like cognitive exercises where I realized that a lot of my thoughts are something called cognitive distortions, which is when my brain is thinking incorrectly. And I think that if I don't do certain things, like my OCD is much more advanced than what people think it is. Like it's not like, oh, I want to have everything organized, which I do. But it's more like, if you touch me, now I have to go downwards 3 times. Or like, if you say something that triggers a bad thought, I have to do like a little ritual or like stab myself. Or and
stab
everything
yourself?
has to be
in what sense? Like your
this,
nails?
Like this.
Okay.
Like hard.
Okay.
To stop thinking about it. And it has to be done perfectly at the right amount of times. Or like if I don't get up and close my closet correctly, a child is gonna get brutally murdered in Indonesia.
Just somewhere, yeah.
Like insane, and then like vividly picturing it.
Now,
hold on, but like the thing is that it's so powerful that it's like, imagine a thought 1,000,000 times, like that per second, like obsessively. So you have the thought, and in order to stop it, you do a compulsion, which is the ritual part, like stabbing myself or knocking on wood or whatever. Yeah.
How much of those, what would you call them, OCD tics?
I call them rituals or tics.
Okay. How much of those do you still have over the past,
maybe like 3 or 5.
Okay, but you see them disappearing?
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's some that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get rid of. But I know that I'm like...
But you can manage.
Yeah, and I'm aware that it's a cognitive distortion, even though a lot of the times it's like too much of a coincidence. Like whenever I don't do it, something bad will happen. And I tell that to my therapist, and it's like, it's a little unnerving, but it is still like, I have to be based on reality, you know? Like I can't be like insane. Yeah. So, that's when I started like opening up. Also, when I would go to my appointments to the rheumatologist, my aunt like accidentally discovered that I was being abused, and she called me out, and that led into me opening up about it. It's very embarrassing to open up about it, and to like admit, like, by the way, all this time I've been getting my ass beat and like being treated like shit and like tortured. And so I opened up to my aunt, and then I opened up to my therapist, and then I eventually got the guts to start calling the police. Then the police doesn't do shit till you're like you're about to be killed. Even when I was about to be killed, they barely even helped me until he actually did something very bad to me, where I'm actually going to court for. That's the time that finally they were able to give me a restraining order.
That it takes until then.
Yeah, like I applied for a restraining order, and they sent me back an email that I still have saying we can't because there's a conflict of interest. I was like, what the fuck? No, there's not, but whatever. So that's when I started like putting boundaries, you know, like saying like I deserve to be I deserve to not live in pain. I deserve to not feel like shit. And this is around the same time when I start opening up about my abuse and all this. Like, I start changing my diet. I did not know about diet being important.
When is this, the diet change?
Around the same time I started therapy. Okay. So like summer 2021. And then this is when I started changing my diet. I started eating, like I started seeing what flares me up. I started posting about it because I was like gone from social media for years.
Yeah.
Is when I started posting on it.
And that's at the peak of the pandemic where
Yeah.
people were barely starting to talk about how food actually affects like
Sure. Right.
health,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Like on a mass scale.
Yeah. Like on a
mainstream.
Mainstream. Exactly.
Yeah. So I started looking a lot of things up. Like I started doing like eating turmeric and like only eating healthy stuff.
I was gonna ask because you talked about like your neural pathways and how
Sure.
you feel like they're very scrambled, right? Have you looked into, I mean, like certain types of mushrooms that are specifically for neural health, like lion's mane or
No,
turkey
I
tail?
haven't. People have told me about it, but like I've been so into like, I need to get this controlled first.
Yeah.
Then we'll see. So maybe I'm at the point now where I started even looking up like Chinese herbal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could pick out like certain herbs for you, and like this will get rid of your arthritis, or like
inflammation, or
get rid of the
or not inflammation because
like,
it's
yeah,
inflammation. Okay.
Yeah, it's inflammation in the joints. Like the attacking of the joints and the everything causes inflammation, causes like liquid buildup. Yeah. To the point where it's like get stuck. Yeah. Like the most like this one is the worst one. Mm-hmm. Just popped as you could hear, but yeah. So I started changing my diet. Then I started being able to actually move to the point that I started working out. Good. And this is when I'm like connecting
just that exponential
myself.
Kind of
exactly.
Growth, right?
I started connecting myself again, like my soul, my thoughts, my heart, my spirit, my body, and like even I was still in a fuckload of pain. But I was like, I'm gonna force myself to do this. Yeah, you had the same hope. Way. Yeah. The same way I forced myself to go through therapy, I'm gonna force myself to go through, to the gym. I started going to the gym. My daughter started going to school. In July 2021 is where I almost got killed by my ex. Wow. So that's when like he left my house and I was able to like have my own life. Yeah. Finally. Salud. Salud. Yeah, and I was able to just free myself from so much shit.
That's good. Congrats.
And thank you. And like, I reach out to so many people that have rheumatoid arthritis, and I tell them like what works for me, what causes my flare ups, and like nowadays I still have so much pain, some days. But like it's very manageable. I could take pain medication and it does relatively go away.
Whereas before that would do nothing.
Yeah, and like another like things that help is like so I have chronic pain and a lot of people have chronic pain, not just people with RA. And having a therapist is like for sure a necessity for people like me with chronic pain because it's like a mind game, as much as a.
Can you share some like mental practices or exercises that kind of help you get out of that?
Really helped is learning about stoicism, and I always encourage people.
Interesting. Like it's like Marcus
Aurelius and
I forget the other general.
Yeah, what was his name? Well, Marcus Aurelius is Seneca was his teacher, right? And I've read meditations and everything, but like it's more like the philosophy of it is very radical for me. Like it's like basically like an overlook of it is no matter what the fuck has happened to you that is so horrible, because that's what life is, horror and terror. And people are horrible and terrible. You take radical responsibility for your own reactions and your own choices of what you do with what happens. And it sucks because that's really how you get out of an abusive situation. No one's gonna save you. The same with RA. No one is going to come and save me.
Yeah. You have to take ownership.
Take ownership and say, you know what, I'm going to try my best.
There's I forget where I heard this quote, but I know it has something to do with the stoicism world, but it goes, the worst thing that ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you. So your meter of like how much you can handle versus someone else is very different.
Definitely. Yeah. I have an extremely high threshold for bullshit. Like for bullshit happening to me, I have like so much aguante. Like I have so much, I let people do anything to me. But you want to know what also really helped me and changed everything? Was my daughter being born. I had no self-esteem, but then she was born and she gave me like something to protect and care about. And it's like, and if you could treat me like garbage and shit and kill me, but you can't even look at my daughter wrong. That's how I started thinking. And then that love for her started transferring to myself a little bit. And like, I'm like, yeah, I deserve good things too. I deserve to be cared for. And like, throughout this whole story that I just told, I've been a mother and a single mother. And I always say all mothers are single mothers, but I've been like a actual single mother with no support. I don't have family members here in El Paso that ever help me watch her. Or like, you know, I don't have anyone to rely on. If I'm really tired, like I can't be like, can I go over and you cook for me? Nothing. It's all me and her every day. And I just mentioned to you that like she skipped a grade. Yeah. And up, she's amazing. By the way,
up, not down.
Yeah, she skipped a grade up. Yeah. She's a genius. Like because I decided that everything that good that I know, I'm gonna tell her now. And I taught my daughter how to read and write while I was not even being able to move. Wow. I started my business and have a semi-successful business. That's what I live off of for years.
Yeah, that's your bread and butter.
From my bed without being able to move.
Congrats. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, like so much shit that I look back now and I'm like, good for you. Like
that's what that book Obstacle is the Way, right? I think it's Ryan Holiday that wrote that.
Yeah.
And it's he's like the guy that's like the stoic mascot or something, exactly. Right? The modern day. But I do firmly believe the way that you're thinking is the way that everyone should think. Yeah. Or I mean, at least try to learn from it. It's so hard, and people prefer the easy route that they choose to just take victim. Exactly. Or just what's easier? It's probably easier to blame others for your problem situations.
You know what?
Whatever.
This is what I tell people: you can blame others. It's their fault. Fuck them, but it's your responsibility.
Yeah. And be the cause, not the effect.
Exactly. And you know, I actually was always like accidentally stoic growing up. Like my mom, with her own words, told me like, you know, you've always been, like, with her own mouth, she told me in Spanish, but she would tell me like, I abuse the shit out of you. I hit you. Like I do horrible shit to you. I tell you what you're going to die of. And 5 minutes later, you're singing and you're fine. And I would always be like, bitch, like that's not a good thing. It's like a coping
you sound
mechanism.
Like you're proud of yourself. Like,
yeah. Like she was like admiring that about me. And I'm like, bitch, that's a coping mechanism. But
yeah. And because I think that's why you're very funny. Because I think a lot of, and I can relate to this, right? Like a lot of people with trauma or just things that have happened in their life, not everyone, but a good chunk of people go down like the humor route. Sure. Because it's in a way for me, I feel like we should be able to laugh at literally everything. And not that we're, you know, putting others down or, you know, whatever. It's just more of, you need to be able to laugh at your own situation. Because if not, it consumes you. You know, you have to make it your bitch in a lot of ways.
Exactly. You know, I make, like I said, I'll be in therapy and I'm like breaking down, and then I'll say a joke and my therapy will like bust out laughing, and like that happens all the time. Yeah. And I make myself laugh all the time. Like again, I'll be like having a horrible breakdown, and then I think of like the stupidest shit, and I start laughing. And I do think life is fun and funny, even though like I have a shit life. Like I always tell people, I have the worst life I know. I have people that I relate to with on like the rheumatoid arthritis
forums
aspect.
Or boards.
Yeah, like we both have rheumatoid arthritis, but they have a family. They have a good husband. They have support disability system. Like they get money from disability. I have people who are self-employed and know what it's like to build a business and to be freelance, but they don't know what it's like to have RA. I have people who are single moms, and we like identify as like being single moms and like raising our kids on our own, but they have a support system, or they don't know what it's like to have the pain, or like, you know, like there's
we all have our blessings.
Exactly.
We also all have our, you know, not downfalls, but just problems, things that are personal,
or cards that were dealt.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like all in all, I have the worst life that I've ever met. Like even like.
Now, if you were to stop saying that, do you think that would help change things?
Yeah, that would. I don't say, again, I do not victimize myself, and I don't say it as a bad thing. I'm saying it objectively. Yeah. Like, even I meet, like, people, friends of mine that are hooked on drugs, people that have been, like, abused as kids, or, you know, like, but they still have better things. And even with that, I always get told, like, you are so strong. You are so capable. You are so overcoming and resilient, and like you just have like a strong life force, right? And I always think like, yeah, and that's why I always help others. I always help others whenever I can, whether it be in my business or in my personal life. Like, I always help others, because if it wasn't for these little people throughout the way helping me here and helping me there, I would probably still be in the same situation.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, like I help. I sometimes I like help people out for free in my business, like with resumes or translations, whenever, like things like that.
You know what? I think I have a very similar mindset to you in that aspect, where I've kind of come to terms, because I'm 32 now. I'm gonna be 33 like in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
happy birthday.
Thank you. So I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to think more clearly about where I'm going, what I'm doing, and every step of the way, right? Because every step causes ripples, right?
Exactly.
So I think I've come to terms with, I'm not trying to be the next Jeff Bezos, billionaire, saving the world because no one else will. I don't have that as my mission in any way.
Okay.
But I do want to change the world, but I feel like the best way for me personally I could do that is within what I call like my 3-foot world, like my arms like length, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So
that's beautiful.
I don't think it's necessary for myself, not in general, just for myself. I don't think it's helpful for myself to stress over matters that I just have zero control in. So for me, I have certain things that I'm very passionate about. One of them is the internet. I love the internet. I think it's the best thing that ever happened to us, but also the worst thing, right? But what I love is, because of my knowledge of how this world works, I know I can literally help anyone with their situation with this amazing tool.
Exactly. You're helping me.
And the least I could do is this. The least I could do is start you off and give you just the footnotes, the starting points. And then from there, you're going to get into that rhythm. And then eventually you're going to help somebody. And then you're going to, that person, then person is.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think the best way I can help the world is by helping those immediately in front of me. And then with that, just hope that it exponentially takes off.
That's very good.
And it's no time out of my day.
Exactly. It's no problem at all. And that's very noble. So good for you. I appreciate that. And
so we're at 52 minutes right now.
Okay.
How do you want to move this to the next step?
I want to end it, I think. Yeah.
Do you have a name for your podcast? Have you thought of anything? Come on, copywriter.
I've thought of a couple of things.
Can you share some?
No.
Okay.
No.
Fine. Next time.
I'll give you my top 3 next time.
Okay.
Because I have like a long ass list.
Okay. What'd you think? Did you like doing this?
I loved it. But I guess I want to say like an ending thought to like, wrap it up.
Take the floor.
So yeah, basically that's what my life is with RA. Dude, so many people tell me often like, I forgot you have it. And I'm always like, I didn't. Like, I don't forget I have it. It puts me at a lot of limitations. Like, I can't do a fucking cartwheel anymore, and that breaks my heart. But I could, work out, and I could go to Disneyland again, and I can lift, I can kick your ass. I could fucking suck if I wanted to, but I don't. And like I could live like a semi-normal life, be a good mom, be a good person, live okay. I probably won't have that much of a long like life expectancy, but I'll have a good life. And like death is pretty boring. That's like my overall takeaway. Like, death is boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Life is fun, and I'm gonna just have a good time. And then when it's my time to go, I already know what it's like to almost die many times, so I'll be used to it. I'll be like, oh yeah, death, whatever. Here I go. But yeah, that's what my life is like.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you for having me.
That was very fun. It was very cathartic.
You feel better?
Good. Yeah, I was like, I got it off my chest.
All right. Well, until next time, people.
Bye.